Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Wispwood by CG. Wispwood is a 1-4 player tile-laying game in which across 3 rounds, players are going to be placing wisps into a forest that is going to be growing larger and larger across those rounds while trying to optimize scoring based on the variable cards in play. Before we dive in further, this channel is sponsored by Allplay, more about them at the end of the video. With that said, in Wispwood, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a forest tile. You're then going to take your cat over here. I'm going to grab this one over here. These are my 3 cats for context, as much as close. They're not, to be clear, they're not my 3 cats. There's a lot of scoring tokens in the game, a lot of cat tokens, and to me, these are my cats. So I'm going to take Elfie over here, who is my favorite, don't tell the others. I'm going to place them on my starting tree tile, and then from there, players are going to be drafting tiles from here. The way that works is you go ahead and you take a tile. I'm going to take this one because it's the only one in play. I'm going to grab it right now, and then you're going to be making one of the shapes on either side. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and build this. I'll build this shape over here. So I'm going to take 2 more tiles over here. I'm going to place this down over there, and then I'm going to build out the shape by basically placing them like so. There I go. I've then built out the shape. Now it's worth noting, in the first round of play, you are only going to be building a 4x4 grid. In the second round of play, a 5x5. In the third round of play, a 6x6 grid. Now as far as when you take these tiles, you're trying to optimize around the scoring cards. I'll talk more about these shortly, but for example, this tile over here, you're going to score 2 points for each tree in a single uninterrupted line from it. So right now, this is going to score a measly 2 points, not exactly a ton. We're going to have another player go ahead and draft a tile, just to mimic another player there. Then it's back to my turn. I have to take another one of these, and this time round, I could do the catty corner over here, but I don't love those quite as much. I do find the energy synergy, this is a very good one, especially if I can place them properly. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, if I'm taking this shape here, if I'm placing it there, I think I can kind of, I don't know if I want to try to optimize too much here. We're not going to overly worry about things. Okay, I'm going to take this tile over here, and we'll do other things later. We're going to take this, and we're going to place it there, and then we're going to place 2 more tiles like so. So we're going to be building this shape and placing that out. There we go, and I placed that. Now the reason I did that is this tile, this wisp is going to score based on the least valuable type of wisp beside it. So right now, this is worth 7 points. If I put other wisps beside it, that will change the economy of that. Then we're going to go ahead to the next player. Again, they'll draft pumpkins. Let's say they're going the pumpkin strategy. And now I'm down to another one of these. I could try to do the exact same thing on this side. It's not the craziest, honestly. It's really not. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to place another one of these out over here. This could be a strong way to build up across the rounds. And then we're going to build this shape on the other side. So we're going to build 4 of those, or take 3 more, because then you have to build out the total shape. So 1, 2, 3, that's building out the shape. You can see over here, this is going to quickly develop, and it's going to be very, very tight very quickly. You're not going to get a ton done in that first round. Now what you're doing over here on your turn is you either take a wisp. The other option is you can go ahead and refresh the board. You can do that when there's a single tile type left. So right now, if there's only 1 tile type, I can refresh the board automatically. You can also flip your cat in order to refresh the board, or alternatively, you can flip your cat in order to take a tile and then take a different shape instead of the one adjacent to that tile. When you want to reflip your cat, instead of taking a tile from the board, you have to instead do the center action where you take 1, 2, 3 forest tiles, you place them onto the board, and you reflip your tile back. That's going to be the options you have. So you're either taking a wisp or you're refreshing your cat by taking 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles, place them into your grid. Now players are going to do this until their grid is fully developed. In fact, let's go ahead and finish the round so we can fully develop this grid. We're going to place this like so. We're going to do that shape. So we're going to do these. That's actually not a really good one. That's not good. Whatever, it's 2. We're not going to optimize. We're not going to optimize. And then let's say we go ahead and we flip this tile. We actually do a refresh action. We take this tile, put it back over here. Now we have our 4x4 grid. Now the round does end when a single player fills their grid, and players are going to take even number of turns, but you're also going to be scoring points for having a full grid, so you're incentivized to have that in play. Then you're going to go ahead and score. You'll score for each of these, so this is going to score 7 points, that's going to score, ooh, I made that so much worse. That was terrible, that was a bad decision. This is going to score only 4 points because it's touching this now. This is going to score 4 points, and this is going to score only 2 points, but then we get to move our cat to any one spot. Let's go ahead and move our cat this way in this case. We'll move over, we'll move the cat over here. All right, and then we get to destroy every other forest in play before going to the next round. So the wisps stay in play, but the forests get returned to the pile, and now you have a new grid to build out, and now I'm building a 5x5 grid where I can adjust where exactly the edges on that grid are. This board is going to stay as is, but you go into the next round where you build a 5x5 grid, rinse and repeat, and then do a 6x6 grid, again removing all the forests and moving your cat, if you want to, in between those rounds. That is ultimately how you play Wispwood. You're going to have 5 scoring categories over here, the 4 wisp types, and then the trees. You're going to have variable cards. You have a stack of cards for each of those types, which means the combination of abilities is going to give you a different puzzle to shoot for every single time you play as you gather those wisps into the forest. You are building and trying to optimize around how those wisps are going to score, being mindful of the fact that everything else is going to tear down. Like that mistake over here, that's going to cost me in every single round because you can never really remove your wisps. You're only removing those trees, which means these two are always going to score off each other, which was a terrible mistake. I should not have done that. Energy synergy is a fun one for me, but I was trying to teach the game. Anyways, that is how you play Wispwood, which means it's time to dive into my review of what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like. In general, the biggest thing about Wispwood that I have found charming is those 3 rounds of progressive growth with a tear down in between. When I first learned about Wispwood, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to like this game, because I like this kind of game. I like games with variable scoring. As soon as they showed me that there are variable scoring cards, I was like, great, I'm going to like it even more, because games that have you trying to optimize your score, I like that to begin with, meaning, well, all games have you try to optimize your score. Games that have like tile placement and variable things, you're trying to figure out what's going to score the most as you combine different scoring, I love that genre. But then one of the things that's a problem with that genre is when it's not fresh, when you're doing the same thing every time. And so the variable scoring cards, again, these are good things in the camp of Wispwood. But for me, the thing that held it back, or not held it back, the thing that had me skeptical, I should say, was there's a ton of games that do this really, really well, and I found it's harder and harder for games to break through and stay there because there's so many games that I already like that do this variable scoring. And so the question is, what does Wispwood do differently? And the first time I really played Wispwood was when I was like, oh my gosh, I understand now, because the fact that you're going to be building up, that first round, a 4x4 grid, it feels like you can barely get anything done. 5x5, it's a lot more. It's going from 16 tiles to 25 tiles. You feel like you can get a lot more trying to optimize in there. And then you go to 36 tiles, again, these are big jumps, and the fact that you tear down your grid in between, that's where this game had me, because that's the thing that makes it unique. Everything else is like, it's been done by so many different games. The progressive building and destruction, that's what makes this game different than other games that are doing this kind of thing, which I already like when games do this thing. The fact that you have to keep pace with others, that's another thing, because at first you kind of instinctively want to try to take those tiny tiles, take the 3s and the 2s, well, it's not really 2s, there's a 2, there's a single 2 on the grid. You're trying to take the lower volume of tree tiles at first until you realize that you want to be mindful of the actual tree scoring, because tree scoring, they're not dead tiles, trees score too, you want to try to optimize that as well, but then also, you do get points every round for having a full grid, and so you don't want to leave those points on the table. If somebody else is going to trigger the game round end, you want to be getting at least as many points as possible before you tear down and reset. The cat action, that little cat action that gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of taking mismatched tiles or refreshing the grid, and then the way you refresh that grid and you can refill empty dead spots, like filling a 1x1 spot you left in your grid, that's the only way to do so. And so the cat action is a nice pacing that the purist to me wants to never really do that action, but inevitably, every time I play this game, I take the action at least once, usually twice, throughout the course of the game, and it does fill in those gaps. Literally speaking, it fills in the gaps while giving you a lot of flexibility in the game. The variable scoring cards, I touched upon this already, but that is so key for me. Games like this, if it's not the same puzzle every single time, that's why I keep coming back to it. If it is the same puzzle every single time, it's great for the first play, and less so for the second play, less so for the third play, as I try to optimize around a set of rules that don't really change. In this game, they change a lot. I don't even know the count, I think it's like 6 or 7 cards for each of the various scoring types, and that gives you a lot of flexibility in terms, as well as easy to add expansions or promo packs that further expand the game. And then the presentation, this is CGE, that's no surprise, vibrant art, the tokens, I love the variable cat tokens, I have the promo set with the extra cat tokens, that's actually, I think if I'm not mistaken, Elfie's from the promo cat tokens. It gives you a lot of a fun charm to the game. As far as things I don't like in the game, certain combos inspire repetition over innovation. Now what I mean by that is, depending on what you build on the board, I find that sometimes when I'm playing, I build up the first round, I tear things down, I go into the next round, I have to keep innovating around what's happening. I have found that certain types of cards kind of reward you to do the exact same thing round after round. In fact, actually I think Way of Light is one of them. There's a few cards in the game where you kind of want to build it, tear it down, and then just rebuild exactly what you did as close as possible, because that's just how they're going to score optimally. And some cards, it's tricky to describe, but some cards, the way you build up and tear down means that you're going to have to constantly adjust in each round and it doesn't feel stagnant. Some cards, you're like, I'm just going to build a row of trees. I'm just going to rebuild that row of trees and then rebuild that row of trees. And there's still changes to it because you have to get things out, and that's not immediately easy because people are taking things that you might want, or the positioning of the tiles. But I do find that I have played many games of Wispwood where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just tearing down and rebuilding, this is fun. And I've played a few games where I was like, I'm tearing down, and then I'm just going to do the same thing because it seems to be the optimal way to get as many points as possible. That's the one thing that I have found holds it back for me, because if the entire charm of what makes this game stand out is that tearing down and building back up again is the thing that's different, when it's doing the same exact thing, that loses a lot of the points that this game got for standing out as uniquely different. And lastly, I'll say that various cards I don't find are necessarily as easily balanced. Like this Energy Synergy card, I find this is a very strong one if you can build it properly, which usually isn't super hard unless you're not paying attention like I wasn't. But you can often work your way around just trying to get those 7 points per tile, which is a huge amount of points per tile for minimal effort relative to the other cards. That can be a very strong one. Again, granted, sometimes you're forced into a corner and you suddenly lose a bunch of points out of it. But I do find the cards are not necessarily evenly balanced. It's not a terrible thing because you're all playing the same playing field, but if you get a bunch of those tiles and then I don't have any left, that can be a little frustrating. As far as I can see others not liking, it is easy to box yourself in this game. This is one of those games where it's easy to start building out, and then suddenly you have trees blocked off here and you can't build that here, and I do find it's a tricky spatial game. There's all these kinds of games are to an extent. This so a little bit more than others. I find that myself, as well as other people I've played it with, at some point in the first few games, you're like, I screwed up. I did the wrong thing 2 turns ago. I didn't realize how that would create the board. It is very easy to box yourself into a corner where you can't do the thing you were planning on doing and you thought you'd be able to. It gets a little easier as the grid expands, but also you've also placed things. Like, it's one of those games that call the first game a learning game, call the second and third game possibly a learning game as well, as you get a little better at not falling into those traps as you play. And then also, it is a low interaction game. Yes, you are taken from a shared pool. Outside of that, there's minimal interactivity between the players, so if you don't like multiplayer solitaire, I think this is pretty close to multiplayer solitaire. As far as final thoughts on Wispwood, I really like this game, and I have hesitated on the rating for this one because here's the tricky part. So let's just talk past reviews, other games, and things like that. I like Wispwood a lot. I'm giving it a 4.5, but the thing I want you to hear that's very important is games like this charm me a lot. And it has certainly happened in the past where I've given a game a high score like this in this genre, specifically this genre. I find I'm a sucker for this genre. And I've certainly covered games like this, and then suddenly a year later, I'm like, you know what? I've played it enough, and now it's down to a 4. I don't think they usually go that low. But like, I might ding the score over time as I realize that my favorites in the genre are the ones that are really holding up. Games like Cascadia, Calico, I find there's a bunch of games that really hold up the most for me. And then inevitably, all the others, I'm like, a new one! And then a year later, I'm like, it's still good, but I've moved on from it. I don't know where Wispwood is. I debated moving the score down to a 4 because I hate telling you my thoughts on a game and then a year later it's gone down. I don't like that. If I'm excited about a game, I want that to be like something that stands the test of time. But the flip side of that is I don't want to ding the game in anticipation of the possibility that it might not hold up. I do talk about games as they leave my collection, so you have that knowledge. So like, for me, I'm still giving it a 4.5. I really enjoy Wispwood. It's one of those games that I'm still super happy to play. It's a lot of fun. The one thing really holding it back for me is those games where I find I am kind of repeating the exact same thing I'm doing round after round. Those are the only times that it gets dinged for me. Everything else is just a super fun time. But also know that as much as I'm giving it a 4.5, this genre has a lot of games out there, and sometimes over time, that initial charm can wear off. It's one of the reasons you may have been hearing me talk about this for a few months now, possibly, because I specifically wanted to give it time and more plays to see if I cooled on it, and so far I haven't. So far I have not cooled on it. Time will tell, we'll find out. Anyways, a 4.5 out of 5 with asterisk, caveat, other information, things to know about. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Calico, which I mentioned already. Calico is one of my favorite spatially games that is also very restrictive and also feels like you're boxing yourself in. Very different game, but very charming, and I've had it for a long time, and it's very much stood the test of time. And then also check out Spectacular. Spectacular was another one that I gave a 5 out of 5, and also was hesitant, and again, a year and a half later at this point, still holding up. Games do manage to break their way into this genre for me. You just have to be really, really good, or at least really, really good for me. And then I mentioned that AllPlay was a channel sponsor. If you're interested in other spatial puzzles, I find Iliad from them. Iliad from one of their partners, Bitewing Games. You can find it on allplay.com. Also, it's a 2-player head-to-head spatial puzzle that also is very much about how you place things. Very different. It's a lot more competitive as far as how you're trying to compete directly with another player, as opposed to just working on your own grid. But if you like those spatial puzzles and you want something that feels a lot more interactive, check out Iliad from Bitewing Games over on allplay.com. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.